3, 2, 1, go. Hey, Sarah, how much do you love being understaffed?
Oh man, Erika, it's my favorite thing ever. We are Living Understaffed, where we celebrate the art of doing it all with very little energy and not enough time.
Tune into the Living Understaffed podcast for epic fails, stories, book recommendations, and the joy of pretending to survive it all.
Absolutely. Grab your coffee, energy drink, or whiskey, and join us because who needs anything to work when you have sarcasm?
Subscribe now to commiserate with the art of being understaffed.
That was perfect.
I thought that was really good.
That was really good. I'm totally good with that. So
yeah,
I'm going to roll
too.
with that, and we'll just call it a fucking day.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it's rolling now.
Okay.
All right, guys. So this is a different kind of episode than we had planned today for Living Understaffed. My name is Sarah.
And I'm Erika.
And we're just kind of a hot mess today. We actually have guest on. This is Chris Smith. He is the CEO of Podtastic Audio, and we're really excited to have you on today, Chris.
Well, thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here. I love all things podcasting, and when you said, "Hey, can you come on my show?" I jumped at the chance. Let me tell you.
Well, I appreciate that. We're like brand new as far as this podcast in itself, but I've been a part of the pod world for a couple of years now, and Erika's been on my previous podcast. She was a guest, once or twice?
Was I a guest?
You were. We did the group episode.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Then, yeah. But yeah, so Erika's been kind of a part of it, but we actually met through a book club. So we've, stayed in touch. Her and her husband have since moved out of Missouri. Her husband's active duty military. So we've just stayed in touch. And now this podcast is kind of keeping our friendship golden and alive and kicking.
Well, that's great. Yeah. Podcasting, bringing worlds together and friendships together,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have a couple of things that normally what we talk about, the whole premise of Living Understaffed is about we ourselves being understaffed. So Erika, if you want to get us started with one of your understaffed stories this week, then Chris will get you in here.
Okay.
So really just this whole weekend, I was understaffed. Yesterday I went to Raleigh so I could go to Costco and Trader Joe's, and I was gone all day, and I just came home and napped instead of doing anything productive. And then this morning I woke up and then I took a nap, and then I remembered that I had to go to Target and then the commissary, and I was going to see my friend on Friday. And then I was like, oh no, I'll just go on Sunday. And then I essentially just I finally got back like immediately before we had to start recording. Like I had all weekend to do so many things. And Sarah and I always, classic, are like scribbling notes 5 minutes after we should have started.
Well, we at least had something. And to be fair to ourselves, I did send the email to Chris to let him know, hey, this is what we're going to do. And then I had compiled the notes then while I was sitting down and actually focusing on it. But then same thing for me. I got up this morning. I went to work for a couple of hours. I also do some IT stuff at work. So we have students that they're on government laptops. And so trying to make sure that they're good to go for class starting tomorrow. And whenever we receive their laptops before the course, they're inevitably always imaged incorrectly. And so I have to go in and fix it. And there's all these things. And so now government's going through and doing the push for Windows 11. And so it's a friggin' mess. So I went to work. I was like, I'll be good in an hour, maybe an hour and a half. I'm actually there for 3 hours, and I look up at the clock and it's 11 o'clock and I'm like, oh my God, I haven't emailed Chris. I haven't done these things. And so then, of course, a squirrel knocks on my brain and I start working on I do this forever photo storage thing. And so I've been slowly uploading digital files to my photo storage. And so I started working on that for a minute, and then it punched me in the face. It's 12:30. I'm like, oh my God, I have to go home, and I don't have makeup on, and God bless America. So it's been a morning.
All of that on a Sunday?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm not done. I have to record another podcast episode this evening. And then I help my roommate runs a business, and every Sunday she does a weekly manifestation, guided meditation type thing. And so I help her with that Zoom call and kind of manage like, if we have a lot of guests on there, then I help with like comments and stuff and all that jazz. So it's this was a much more busy Sunday than I planned, and I'm okay with it because then I'm actually going to sleep tonight. So
Nice.
Yeah. So Chris, tell us about something this week that you have been understaffed, that there's too much going on.
Oh my gosh, I don't know where to begin. Let me think. So understaffed. Here in California, they just raised the minimum wage to $20 an hour. And so that's for like fast food places and things like that, which means that they obviously are figuring out ways to cut staff, and they're finding out ways to overcharge for different things. It's funny, like the other day, my parents were saying they're going to take my sister's kids to McDonald's after school one day. I was like, hey, you guys are living the high life at McDonald's, because now they're charging like way much more money for things, because they might be understaffed or might be gouging of the $20 an hour. And there are places that are fighting that, and which is a lot of money to think about it, but make everything cost so much money here. So it's it's the evolution of inflation. It's kind of the way it goes. But the company I work for is like, I don't do podcasting full time, although I wish I would. I don't. But the company I do work for, we are currently understaffed. And I think about it, but and they start giving us more work to do. It's usually the way it works. Circle of life, really. You get the joy of doing more work, and they may give you a title about it. They may not. Who knows? And until they hire more people. But then it's like, is it true that is it cheaper to keep an employee than is hire a new person? Is how's it work? You hear about that?
Yeah. So I have actually been job hunting for the last like year and a half. My job is wonderful. Let me just throw that out there. I have a really, really wonderful job, but I, have retirement plans and I have these things going on. So I want to make more money and continue to contribute to my retirement so that I have the life that I want to live when I don't have to work anymore, instead of having to work until a certain age or until, whenever. And so I have been job hunting for something that, more aligns with my own personal preferences. And a lot of recruiters and whatnot, especially like through LinkedIn. I don't know how much people are on LinkedIn, but there's so much going on with job recruitment right now that they want to bring on all these people at lower wages, but their turnover is so high that they're not willing to raise the bar to bring on some of those people with more experience, versus just so low levels of experience that their turnover rate just continues to increase. And so I actually just read something the other day that it was like, for those people out there that are like, your budget is say 80,000 to 120,000. And, the person coming in interviewing says, well, I'd like 95. And they say, well, I'm only authorized to give you 80. And the person accepts it. Really, the recruiter is doing a disservice to that person in the position, because if they have the experience and they have, X number of responsibilities that really equates to $100,000 or $120,000 a year, their job satisfaction is going to be so much less, and it's going to continue to lessen over time because they're not properly compensated for the work that they're doing. And so, yeah, I feel like it's kind of an epidemic across the board as far as jobs right now.
It's got to be a tricky position to be in, because I haven't had to look for a job in 12, 13 years. And so like now, like back then it was like paper resumes, and like you walk in, drop it off and stuff. Things were digital then too. I think now I would assume that almost everything is digital. Like everything is online. You have to do an application online. Like everything is online, right? I mean, I don't know. I haven't done it in a while.
Yeah, pretty much everything is like automated, and you can have the one resume, and you're supposed to like cater each job position on your resume so that it more aligns with what the company wants and whatever. But it's all too easy right now. And then, not to mention, and I really don't want to go into this rabbit hole, honestly, but LinkedIn has so many fake companies on it and so many scams.
Really?
I myself got scammed a couple years ago.
Oh, tell us about that. I'd like to hear that one.
Oh God. I was going through a divorce, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to keep my house, keep my job, because my husband was active duty military. And so I didn't know if I was going to be leaving this military base and going somewhere else. Like I was in this desperate era of my life. And then the divorce was not pleasant. There was a lot of manipulation. There was stalking. It was not fun. And so I was looking for part-time income so that in case I did have to move across the country or I did have to move myself, that I would have the money set aside in order to do that. And so there was this one company that I got on with, and everything seemed legit. They had an HR person reaching out to me. They had all of these things that really didn't bring a whole lot of red flags to the scenario until they said that they were going to send me a check in the mail so that I could cash said check and purchase my desk equipment, like my computer, my printer, my whatever, because the company would pay for it. Okay, fine. So I go to cash it, and they want me to then transfer it to one of their vendors to purchase whatever equipment it is that they wanted. And so it ended up being like $1,200. And what happened is that the check was not legit, but it still processed through my bank.
Oh, no.
And so the bank processed the check, didn't realize it was fraud until like 48 hours later. And I had already transferred the money to the other person that was supposed to purchase the equipment. And so I was not able to get that money back because I had already transferred the money out of my account.
Oh, no.
Like it was brutal. As far as my self-esteem and trying to like make sure that my life was together, it was a brutal like 5-6 months trying to recoup that. So yeah, and that was all from LinkedIn.
You know, LinkedIn and I have like a love-hate relationship because LinkedIn over the last, I don't know how many, I've only been on LinkedIn a short time. And the only reason I got LinkedIn in the first place was to help boost my Podtastic audio services, to get it out to companies and, you know, things of that sort. Mm-hmm. But I've been on there for a little while, but in the short time I've been in there, I've been kicked off probably 7 times.
Kicked off?
Like they block you and they say your account is under review. You have to log in. You have to wait for us to get back to you, and we'll let you back in to play. The playground. I basically got kicked out. So
wow.
Yeah, I just got kicked out recently too. So I'm trying to like lay low off LinkedIn too much. And I do have noticed there's been a lot of like fake people hitting me up, you know, a lot of people out of different foreign countries and things. And I try to, not to say like people in foreign countries are good or bad, but if anybody messages me and they're out of the country, I'm ignoring it. I'm deleting it. I don't care, because that seems to be all the problems I've had. And then, you get a lot of spammers and a lot of things. I think they thought I was a spammer too, because I was probably posting more than I probably should be on LinkedIn. I think it might have been a problem, because I post things about my new podcast episodes on all the platforms, including LinkedIn, because it's like a one button click on my thing. And I would send it over there. And I think they saw that I was sending things over there too often. Maybe that's what it is. But they said, you violated the rules and regulations. I'm like, well, which one? What did I violate? You tell me. They don't tell you nothing. So I kicked off. So LinkedIn, I'm not using LinkedIn to look for a job. I'm just on LinkedIn to promote my services for companies that want me to make podcasts for them. So that's what I do with Podtastic Audio. And but LinkedIn, I said it's I could see people using it for job headhunting. You know, I used to use, when I looked into finding a job, I used Indeed. I think it was Indeed. Yeah, it was Indeed. Because they pull everything together. I don't know if I've ever used Indeed for job hunting.
Yeah, I did back in the day. One of the times that I moved to Texas, I had looked on Indeed. But what I've noticed is that Indeed and LinkedIn both have a lot of scammers and a lot of spam.
No way.
Yeah, LinkedIn definitely has, or Indeed has a lot of spam too.
Well, it's like Craigslist. Remember Craigslist back in the day? You could find jobs on Craigslist too.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
You still can.
Oh, really?
You still can, yes. But it's the same thing. Craigslist has a lot of scammers on there, and it's a brutal world out there as far as like people who are job hunting. And the last thing that I'll say on this point is that for people who are applying to jobs on LinkedIn, it is essentially a job board. So they have a system that searches the internet and different companies for the jobs that they have posted. So you're not always like for that. It's like a quick link apply button for LinkedIn Apply, and so you can just apply through the LinkedIn website versus going direct with that company's website. And so they try to make it easier for you, but you can actually see, like I see it all the time for like assistant positions and data entry positions, that within 55 minutes there's over 100 applicants.
No way.
Yeah.
Not like it's brutal. So
Well, now don't they use like AI tools to weed out all the applicants?
well, you think they would do that for the employers as well, but there's so many scams on there. I probably get 1 to 2 emails per week of people saying, click on this link and you'll, send us a picture of your ID and
Wow.
oh yeah, like 1 to 2 emails per week minimum. And people fall for it all the time. So really the whole point of this conversation, I guess, would just be for people to be careful, especially if you are job hunting, but I mean, props to California for raising the minimum wage, but also, it happened everywhere, especially like even in Missouri when they raised minimum wage, all of the costs of everything went up too. So it's just kind of, it sucks.
And they're closing stores too. We had a store chain in California when I used to work at many years ago. It's funny. The 99-cent only stores, they're closing all their stores down in California. I guess they were out of LA somewhere when they first started. But anyways, they came down here to San Diego. I was out of work and I was younger and I took a job working there. I hated it, by the way. I hated it. But I worked there for a brief moment in time until I found something better. And that place is closing down because I heard someone say this in a podcast a while ago, talking about the 99-cent stores closing down. They first opened up in like 1981 or 82. Now, they named the store 99-cent only back then. So, with inflation creeping up, that 99-cent that it was back then is probably worth to like $4 today. But yet you're still pricing yourself as 99 cents. Now, over the years, they did kind of evolve and change some of their prices. Were like $9.99 or $5.99. Well, they kind of played around with different numbers and stuff with different items to kind of like. I mean, same thing with Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree went from $1 to $1.25. I think that's what it is. But even still, with the way inflation's going, they're probably going to. The title of the store is going to like price itself out of itself, kind of like the 99-cent store. So,
yeah.
I guess Five Below too. Same thing with Five Below stores. But the Five Below stores, I was just in there yesterday. They do sell things more than $5, so it's not always $5 stuff, which I thought it would be. But it's like discount stuff, but in that range of $5, really. So something to be aware of. I guess when you start in these kind of things, you got to think about the future. Think long term. Think where is this going to go? Think like if my store is called 99 cents, everything's $1, and then and then eventually you're selling like those like crappy little prizes you get at Chuck E. Cheese for like 2 tech tokens.
Yeah, sure.
So
man, yeah, it's I don't know, the world. It's a weird world out there. We probably talk about this every time that we record it. It's definitely a weird world out there.
Yeah.
To kind of transition a little bit, Chris, I do want to talk about what Podtastic Audio brings to the table. So, I had pulled up your, of course, your LinkedIn, and I had looked at your website. So, kind of explain to us what Podtastic Audio does. I know we had talked about doing a promo for you. So, like, obviously, right now, you can promo yourself, but then
okay.
we'll make sure that we get an audio pull for you, so that because we're gonna start making like little commercial breaks or whatever, and then we'll put different people's promos in for free. Like we're not going to charge people for that.
Oh, that's
also small podcast, but it's good to get other indies out there.
It definitely is. That's why I started Podtastic Audio in the first place. I did a podcast in 2019 with my now wife, Christine, called The Chris and Christine Show. We started in 2019, not knowing nothing about nothing, podcasting wise. We just fired up and see what happens. Talk about the technical problems we had today. I've had technical problems back then too. And so that was fun. But we got it going, figured out a few things, and we found services like this one here, Clean Feed, which made audio sound fantastic. Guest interviews sound amazing. And we had a few interviews going, a few episodes going. And other indie podcasters would reach out to me and say, hey, your show sounds amazing. Like, what are you doing? Like, how are you making it sound so great? Like, how are you doing that stuff? And I'm like, well, I don't have I have like basic gear, and then we're still figuring this thing out too. Then I'm like, well, what are you doing different than that I'm doing? Because as far as I know, I have like crappier gear than you have, and yet mine sounds better. So what am I doing? So then I got the idea of maybe doing a course or a coaching thing or something like that. And I'm like, well, I got time for that. But what I could do is maybe make a second podcast on the side. I'll call it Podtastic Audio, because my catchphrase I used to always say was fantastic, and I wanted to blend fantastic with Podtastic. So that's how, with podcasting. So that's how I got Podtastic. So I started that as like a companion show to the Chris Christine Show. Like, kind of showing what I've done and how you can make your show better, especially for indie podcasters, because there's a lot of podcasts about podcasting out there, but there seemed like there wasn't a lot that were really designed for the person that didn't know which end of a microphone to use. you know, like the basics.
Sure. Yeah.
Like trying to figure out all these different things and stuff. So that's where it kind of started, and it's kind of grown from there. And then I've had a few different guests. I've had a bunch of different guests on over the years, but I started doing it for a while. Then I got this idea, thinking that like, well, it could be any company at all, but in the space that I work in is in the transportation industry, is that if a company made a podcast for their employees to listen to while they're physically doing the job that they're hired to do, the employer can give them information of any kind, updates, stuff, all kind of stuff, like anything with a podcast, while they're physically doing the job, then it will keep production moving, not to stop them. Because there's been lots of, I don't know if the companies you guys worked for, where they'll have a meeting day or some kind of a class or a course or something they got to make you do, where they stop production, pull you off whatever you're doing. You all got to sit down in a room. You got to do this course or this class or this whatever it is. I'm thinking all this information, you can just feed it to me in a podcast and I can continue doing what I do and move on. And everybody's happy. But so that's kind of, I got the idea of doing it like that. And then I was like, what if I pitched it to a bunch of different companies? And then I got one to take a bite, and I've been working with them for over a year now, creating podcasts for them. And they log in just like this. I record everything for them. I handle all the editing, production, send it out for them, and it's great. So that's where Podtastic Audio. I mean, it's a podcast, but what I also do for the business side of it all is that I will record and create podcasts for, I mean, it doesn't have to be companies, but mostly focusing on companies. But it could be people too. But companies is better because companies usually pay better, I think, when you hire than a person and stuff too. So, and they're a little more serious about it too, for the most part. So that's what I do, and it's been going great. And my clients, they love me. They love me doing it for them, because having me do all the recording, editing, production, where they just link in, click a link, talk, do their show, talk, do their thing, and they don't have to worry about nothing else. They close it up. All right, see you later. I'll have this episode out Friday. Done. And then I deliver, and it works.
So let me ask you this. Is it a transportation company? Well, I guess it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Okay,
it is. Yeah.
Okay, so explain to me, like, is it like 5-minute episodes? Is it 15-minute episodes? Does it change every week? Like, explain to me what one of the updates would be.
Okay, so what I do for them, so I give them I have my scheduler that I send out to them, so they pick days. Now, on the contract that I have them signed, they're on a contract thing with me, so they only do 2 episodes a month. I could do more if they want to, but they have set to 2 episodes a month, so bi-weekly. So I charge them per use to record. So when they come in, I book a 1-hour session. Now, however they decide to use that session is really up to them. They want to use 10 minutes of it. They want to use a full hour of it, whatever.
Oh, man.
So I book them for 1 hour. So that during that 1 hour, we are recording. I'm here with you, recording it for you. You guys are talking to each other, doing your thing. Great. And I'm recording it. So that's what that is. That way I have the audio files, and I have them, and I can get to work on them immediately. So I do that, and then I charge them a rate to package it, edit it, and put it together. And then I send it out to them, and then I say, your episode's out, here's the link. And then we move on to the next one. So that's pretty much how it's been working. He's been booking he's been scheduling the block of time to record earlier in the month. So I'll send him the link to schedule with me, and he'll book out the 2 days he wants and the hour block he wants. And we're all in San Diego here, so it's time-wise not really an issue. It's only an issue for maybe because they've got warehouses all over the country, people in Florida and I think Seattle and all over the place. So Podtastic Audio, the company base, what I do is I record for the clients, set them up for an hour recording session twice a week. And I record everything here on my end, and then they get the files, and I immediately go to work on them, make sure they sound amazing. That's my thing too, is when it comes to podcasting, really, is that I strive to make sure the audio sounds the absolute best it possibly can with the basic gear we're all using today. I've taken like literally because they didn't have microphones to start with. They were using those like operator headphones, like gaming headset kind of things. They had those, and I would take that audio, make it sound the absolute best I can until I got frustrated and I bought them a microphone. So here's a microphone, all right? Let's use this instead. So I sent them a microphone over and headphone set, and the audio went from a 3 to a 10 overnight.
Oh,
So,
Lord.
of course, those headset things aren't really designed for like podcasting or broadcasting. They're designed for like phone calls and stuff. So that's the thing I think with podcasting in general is that people seem to forget that other people are actually listening to this, and it's not just a one-on-one or three-way call or whatever, But although people do treat it like that sometimes, so but that's kind of way I've done with podcasting. I've listened to more audio in my life than anything else. So I have a pretty good ear, I think, for the most part when it comes to this kind of stuff. So I focus on audio, good audio. Video is fun too. Listen, I love video too when it does work. My stupid camera ain't working today.
Right.
But when it does work, it's fine. And I love doing that kind of stuff. And I was hoping to get all dialed in today with my cute shirt and everything. What's up with that? It doesn't work.
We all tried. We all tried so hard. We're just understaffed here. That's all
That's
I
what it is.
for.
I think it's Sunday. And Cinco de Mayo. I think the computer said too many margaritas in already.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I'm way too busy today. But happy Cinco de Mayo to everyone that is celebrating. And I don't know. Yeah. See, she doesn't even know. Come on now. Well, so one question that I did have for you, as far as like you being in the pod world and the Chris and Chris show, Chris and Christine, have there been any like unique stories or unique creators that have like stuck out in your head over the years?
Unique, like doing something outside the box?
Sure.
Like
whatever your definition of unique is.
Yeah, I mean, well, here's the thing. I've run into a lot of podcasters, a lot of them, and I've seen a lot of trends happening lately. And I think one trend that I think people are leaning too heavily on, like we noticed today, was with the video side of it all. I just thought about this the other day. I say, you know what? I think as content creators, we're having a problem here, and that is we're heavily relying on video like way too much. Because what's happening is that nobody can tell good stories without relying on visual graphics or visuals or something, or seeing each other or something. Nobody can actually like describe something. If you look at Instagram or TikTok, what are those places, those reels and stuff, they'll have like, if they're doing a podcast, they'll flash on the screen visual concepts of what they're talking about, because maybe it's because it's all visual platform. Yeah, I get that. But I think we rely on it too much, and there's no good actual detailed storytelling in what you're talking about. Like you could say something like, "Oh, my grandma's house," and okay, well, you might have an imagination of what the grandma's house is, but then if I show a picture on the screen of my grandma's house, oh, that must be it. And I think people fall back on that way too much. It's just a thought I had like today, just thinking about that. And with audio, a lot of podcasters don't seem to realize this, is that video is fun and all, but usually the audio version of the same podcast will outperform the video version of it 10-1, because audio is portable, video is not. Audio you can take anywhere. You can listen to it in the car. You can listen to it while you ride your bike. You can listen to it while you walk. You can listen to it pretty much anywhere. I mean, because you're not physically having to stare at a screen. You're like locked in a certain position or space watching something. I think people fail with that. That's why I love audio so much, because it's such a portable medium, and you can use like there's always theater of the mind too. Like if I describe something, don't have to show you anything. We can like tell a story where I'm physically describing different things. You don't need the images and the graphics and different things. I can explain those things to you, and you can get an idea. It's like reading a book, really, if you think about it, how they can kind of describe things with words versus visuals. And I think that's a problem I keep seeing. So when it comes to podcasting, I think I see there's like two camps here. It's like people that like either are the expert or people that talk to the expert.
Okay.
So I'd rather be the one that is the expert than the person talking to the expert, because nobody remembers the reporter who did the interview with the big time celebrity. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But I mean, um, I just don't see how a podcaster becomes, well, I don't say famous, but becomes popular without actually giving their own thoughts and inputs and their expertise on the show. Because I've seen a lot of shows where they strictly just do interviews, interview after interview after interview. And that's all they do. But yet you know nothing about the host, maybe a little bit, but not a lot. I mean, I don't know. It's my thought that I think if I listen to a show that does have a lot of guest interviews or multiple guest interviews, I usually start to not really tune in as much to the guest interview episodes as much as I do really listen to the solo episodes. In fact, I think someone said they did a survey. They found out that solo episodes usually get more downloads than interview shows do. But maybe not. I've heard also the other way around where a interview show gets more downloads because the person you interview also has their fan base who they share it out to also. So you get more, people listening to it also.
Right.
It's kind of it to play with these things. I always say, find what works best for you. Don't try to copy somebody else. Just do your own thing, and people, well, Joe Rogan does it like this. I'm going to do it like Joe Rogan does. Okay, but you're not Joe Rogan. And so Joe Rogan's got 3-hour episodes where they talk to people about random stuff. Yeah. But also, I think Joe Rogan could hold a really interesting show without a guest. And I think that's the problem with people is that if you can hold a show without a guest and make it sound amazing, you're on the right track. But if you have to lean on the crutch of video or lean on the crutch of having a guest, then, I mean, I don't know, it's like one of those things, I think do your own thing and be independent. You can do whatever you want. Podcasting can be whatever you want it to be. It can be about anything you want, But then at the end of the day, you have to think about why is anybody listening to your show? Why is anybody going to listen to you? And that's the thing I think a lot of podcasters struggle with. It's figuring out why is the listener coming to my show? Of all the shows in the world, why would they press play on my show?
Right.
And that's hard to answer sometimes because some people say, well, my buddy Joe and I, we talk Batman in the basement. Okay, great. Whatever. I mean, is that entertaining? Maybe it's entertaining to some people. I don't know. I mean, but there's a million shows that do that, but what makes your show different?
Right. Well, and I think that, for anybody that is out there in the pod world, I just posted this picture on our Instagram this morning, actually, because I thought it was absolutely hilarious because Erika was on Bird in the Hand podcast, and my previous co-host, we had decided, oh my gosh, we love doing this so much, we should make a podcast. So the picture actually says, it's a meme. It says, quote, "We need to have a podcast together," unquote, is the millennial way of saying, dude, we should totally start a band. And it is, yes. And I'm not even mad about it. My whole thing is own their own way of viewing pleasure, if you will. So if it's audio, if it's video or whatever, mostly the way I see it is you can create the dumbest podcast in the world as long as you are enjoying the time and the thing that you are creating and you're doing what you need to do. It doesn't matter if you have no guests or if you have no listeners. If you're enjoying what you're doing, then you do you, boo.
That's right. You do you, boo. That's why I always say, be your own thing, and enjoy doing what you're doing. But then the thing I hear is that people get frustrated because, episode 5 comes around and they're wondering why, Coca-Cola hasn't knocked on the door for sponsorship yet.
Right. But it's part of the, what's the word that I'm thinking of? That's part of the learning curve, right? My first podcast, I had no idea what we were doing, and we ended up on Apple's top 10 list in 3 months.
No way.
And it was the most incredible thing. And we had absolutely no podcast experience, no audio experience, no nothing. And that's not to say that God knows that I love Living Understaffed, and Erika and I are great friends. But if Living Understaffed tanks and we have 4 listens from this first episode, I don't care, because it's my entire goal is to I really, really, really fell in love with the pod world. And this is where I want to be. This is my hobby. This is what I want to do. So for me, that first podcast that I had, I absolutely loved it. And I'll never forget the memories of that. But that just means like there's more out there. There's more out there for me to discover, for me to learn about the AV world, and I'll figure it out, you know?
That's fantastic. Sarah, you are amazing. I appreciate you being in the podcast space. And wow, crazy that I went up the charts so quickly. I think
Mm-hmm.
well, I heard a trick to this is that if your show gets a lot of subscribers within a small window of time, like a real like a rush to the show, like 100, say you get 100 or 200 people all of a sudden rush and down and subscribe to the show within the first like 2 days or whatever, then that kind of puts you up the charts. That's what I heard. It's kind of how it works. So a trick to that is if you know 1,000 people and you can get 1,000 people to hit subscribe to your brand new show within the first day of it being released on Apple, there's a good chance it could go up the charts. That's what I think could happen. I mean, you always can try if you have that kind of pull and you can get 1,000 people to do that. God bless you. Go right ahead. Yeah, But I also heard another trick too. I heard about podcasting. I heard this thing the other day, which makes sense. Is that if you look at your total following, like all your social medias, your email list, like everyone you know, your family, friends, if you put everybody in a pile, especially like online stuff, it's like all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all of them. You took that big giant number and you took 20% of that number, that should be the roughly how many downloads you're getting on your podcast. So about 20% of your total following will download and listen to your podcast.
So, Erika, we have 0.25 of a person.
Right.
Oh, goals, man. Goals. We just won that
Right.
one single episode. That one.
Right.
That's
And also-
so funny.
And also, too, I think people don't realize that different metrics work on different platforms. You'll notice
Absolutely.
like the Instagram Reels will shoot up so quickly. You'll get like 100, 200 views on your stupid whatever video you make within the first day. But yet a podcast episode might take a month before it sees 50 plays.
Right.
So it's different from different places. I think the short form video, they too tick up quicker. That's why everybody loves doing it. You can get a lot, like a YouTube Shorts. You can get a lot of views on a YouTube Short versus a long play video. Like probably 50 to 1, maybe even more than that. And some people dump everything on YouTube Shorts. Yeah, but they're looking at it for half a second, and they're counting that half a second as I'm watching it. So
and that's also why they extended video play on different platforms. So like, you know how like TikTok and Reels and YouTube Shorts, like they have the minute long Reels, but now I think TikTok has extended their plays to like 8 minutes or 12 minutes or something like that, because there's a lot of research out there that's showing that these Reels and Shorts and whatever else, like these other like minute or minute and a half long videos, is catering to the dynamic of people that have short attention spans, like these younger generations. And so there's a lot of argument that goes to show that that's a learned behavior, that's because all of this information is out there and it's coming to you at 60 seconds at a time. That is a learned behavior. So if we start putting out more videos that are 5 minutes plus longer, that give you a little preview of an hour-long show, that is actually going to be a trend, quote unquote, that starts to come back because it's a learned behavior for these people, for these younger generations, to start watching those longer videos.
Nice.
So TikTok actually expanded their video capability, and I believe Instagram is the same. I have not looked at. I don't think YouTube has done that yet.
Well, YouTube has the regular videos too, so those are always fun. But the thing about YouTube, I was kind of curious about is that they always say, "Oh, the subscriber count is what counts. Subscribers, great." But I've been seeing a lot of videos that I'm not subscribed to come across my page because YouTube knows, oh, you like this kind of video. Here's a bunch of videos just like it. Here you go. And they're right in front of you on the column. If you're on a computer, like on the column or on your phone, right below your thing you're watching. Anyways, so you're constantly hopping from video to video. Do you know like the retention rate on a YouTube video is like less than 50%?
Yeah, I don't think I knew it was less than 50, but I had read something a few months back because I work on another podcast out of California, and so he does. He actually pays me to do like an hour research per week of different like things that we can do to help boost his numbers and whatnot. And I don't remember like the what that stat was, but I read something about it a few months ago.
Yeah, I was at Podcast Movement last month, and I was talking to a video guy that I know works for Libsyn, and he was telling me that I think it's less than 50%. If you get 50%, it's like really really good. It's really
Wow.
I think YouTube counts 30 seconds as a view. Now these 30 seconds do not have to be together. They could be 5 seconds you skip, 5 seconds you skip, 5 seconds you skip till you reach 30, and then it counted as a view.
As a view.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of how I read that about that. So that's another thing to consider too. And people say, "Oh, I've got 200 views on my video or whatever," But if you look at the actual retention, you realize it's so depressing. You look at the retention and you see you have a 10-minute video, and then people are only watching it on the average for 1 minute.
Yeah.
Right.
All of our videos are really short, but because on TikTok, I can see the graph of how it tells you how long somebody watched the video for, the average.
Yeah.
And obviously there's a spike for the first couple of seconds, but for the most part, people watch our videos all the way through, which is pretty nice.
Maybe it's the shorter ones do better with that because they're only going to be, they're pretty short, but I think the longer ones struggle. I'm trying to figure out what's the best. I don't know. The old saying always goes is there's no such thing as too long, only too boring.
That's what she said.
Yes.
Dropping the what she said joke. I love it.
Sorry, that was all right. I'm sorry. We'll go back on topic, but wow, thank you for that.
That was elite, Sarah.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry. Yes. So I agree with you on that. I do agree with you with that. The content has to be it has to be somehow inspiring or interesting to the consumer. So if for us as Living Understaffed, right? We believe, we know that there are people that are in our friend circle or in our family that if we throw it out there that we're man, this and this happened this week at work or this and this happened this week personally. And I don't have enough hours in the day. I don't have enough mental, physical energy to get through this week because I still have 100 more things to do. And there's no way that I'm going to get it done without help or without, Erika, her husband was deployed for a while. And so she literally did everything back on the home front of taking care of the house. They bought a house, they moved across the country. And Erika, I know I'm telling your story, but
yeah,
this is
but
she had pets die. She has car trouble. She has all these things. She's got to do it by herself. And for me, I'm post divorce and I am doing all this stuff by myself and oil changes and making sure that my house is okay and cleaning and are you fucking kidding me right now? There's, so we know that as far as our show and our interests, that it will definitely align with a large population of people out there. But if I were to talk to somebody who's in learning and development and their show and their business and all of that stuff is based on learning and development and all that, they're probably not going to be interested in something like this. So when I'm kind of circling back a little bit, but when you're talking about each platform has its own algorithm and its own formula of things, it's all kind of a game, and you kind of have to play the game and see what works and see what chess piece to move to figure that out.
I know a podcaster that actually did this, or a YouTuber, whatever you want to call him, and he was talking about and complaining about Joe Rogan, and I'm he's complaining about Joe Rogan being so he can talk about whatever he wants to talk about. Why can't I talk about whatever I want to talk about? Why is he so popular? Why can't I talk about and I do the same kind of show he does? Well, first off, you're not Joe Rogan. Secondly, you're not famous. And third, he's got 20 or 30 years of being famous before he even started his podcast. So
sure.
And he was a public speaker, and he was a comedian, and he was a talk show host, and so on and so forth. He's go on and on and on and on. He's been on the radio, he's been on all these different things. So that's something you have to think about when you think about comparing your own show to somebody else's. Maybe they have, 10 years of, maybe they were on the radio or something for 10 years. And they already built a following. Maybe, who knows what, maybe they have a staff of speaking of understaffed, maybe they do have a staff working on their show for them, like 10 people behind the scenes doing everything for them, where all they have to do is like come in and say, hey, Donna, where's my coffee? And then get your coffee. And then like they sit down, where's my script? Okay, great. And they just come in and do their thing, just like a news reporter. And then they bounce out, and then somebody else does all the editing and does all the stuff. Most of us indie podcasters, myself included, do everything ourselves. We do everything and everything. So it's something different to really consider. And also, too, maybe the thing you're talking about, maybe it's just not really gravitating towards anybody. Maybe nobody's picking up on it because maybe there's nothing really there. Maybe the content hasn't been quite polished yet. Those are all things to think of. And people really should get an outsider. Nobody does this, but they should get somebody to actually do an audit of their show. And nobody does this because nobody wants to know it's crap. Nobody wants to hear that. I mean, they say they do. Oh, review my show. Yeah. Are you sure? Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see. You had 5 minutes of silence here. You were talking about cat food for like the first 10 minutes. And then, it was Echo City. And then you never got to the point. And then the first 10 minutes were like, is this thing on? Is this thing on? So, you get, and they're like, well, my mom says it's great. Well, mom's going to say everything's great. So that's why you need to ask somebody that's not related to you. Hey, check this thing out and give me your opinion,
Yeah.
But nobody really wants to hear it. That's I mean, I'm the same boat too. Like we don't want to hear negativity about the thing we create. Nobody wants to hear that.
Sure thing. Yeah. That's not something I want to hear, but like for the future of my show or the future of, any kind of success that we have. Yeah. I mean, that would be necessary after a while. Cause even Erika, we were talking about it ahead of time before we got, and for those of you that are listening, we had some major tech problems before we were able to get on here. So like, that's why this week is just an audio episode. We were supposed to do video, and it was just a hot mess between the three of us. So, we were talking about it ahead of time that we were like, oh yeah, the first 5 episodes, like, don't even worry about it. Like those are just going to be like the thing that we laugh about in 6 months when we're better at this and we have better equipment or we have more time to kind of invest into it. And even I said it, like the podcast that I did a couple years ago, like I beg to differ on the first 5 episodes because we had like within the first week, we had over 100 downloads. And then that's like our Apple stats started crawling up. And then after like a month, we had 1,000 downloads for that one episode.
Wow.
And it was like, we were just like, oh my God, what do we do with this? And we did the same thing. We were like, we need to find sponsors and we need to do this. Like this could be something. And we were freaking out. But, bless my previous podcast host, she ended up being pregnant with their 4th child. They had 2 with autism, and then her husband was getting out of the military. So like,
they're
they
busy.
have a lot going on.
Yeah.
And so we kind of disbanded and broke up the band, but I'm still really proud of it. Even though it was a short run, it still was a success in and of itself. And like, that's why, well, I shouldn't even say that that's why. Erika and I just wanted to have some kind of something creative between the two of us and staying connected and having something that we know other people can agree with and can align with. Like that's why we're here.
Awesome. That's fantastic. You're doing what you enjoy doing. And I think that's what podcasting really should be all about. People come in here thinking that's going to be a cash cow and they're going to, do their thing and try to get sponsors and do things. And they get very upset when they realize that. I think of all the things, if you add up like the social medias and you add up in like the YouTubes and the TikToks, all the things, I think audio podcasting has got to be like the smallest number of all the things, because listening to a podcast takes dedication. It's not like Instagram or TikTok or something where you're getting fed just random stuff. To get to a podcast, you physically have to like get the app, whatever app it is, find the show, subscribe to the show, and then push play on that thing. It's not force fed to you like other platforms are. So that's probably why the numbers are a little lower, and it's a little more dedication because you have to sit there and push play. Either maybe you can drive and listen, or maybe you can do something else and listen, but you physically, you are the one pressing play. It's not, force fed to you like Instagram Reels are.
Right. Yeah. I agree with you. So I do want to kind of push away from this topic a little bit because I'm sure that we could all talk about this for days.
Forever.
I do want to talk a little bit about the bear versus man online sensation that has been going around social media. Chris, do you know what I'm talking about?
No, but please explain.
Okay, so basically the question that has been presented to women is if you were alone in the woods and you were coming up on a bear or a man, what would you choose? Like if you were about to be, alone by yourself, what would you choose? And the majority of women are choosing the bear.
Yeah. I mean, I'd probably choose the bear too. Now I think about it. Because I've dealt with a lot of crazies in my day job, and people scare the crap out of me. I mean, they really do. I think of all like the horror movies that I've watched, the ones where people are the crazy scare the crap out of me. Bears, not so much. Ghosts, aliens, whatever. But when people, because those are like real like scenarios, those are real situations where a physical human being. I mean, not saying a bear can do some damage because they can. Of course. But a person, especially a crazy person, because a lot of crazy people out there. I'd probably choose a bear, a lion, and a tiger over a person. I don't know. It just seems like I don't know. I mean, especially as a woman. I'm not a woman, so I wouldn't know. But I'm saying if you were a woman, but. I think, yeah, I can totally see that the bear or the man in the woods. Yeah, I mean, the thing about the bear though too is that usually a bear doesn't like think like crazy, like I'm gonna stalk this person on Facebook and I'm gonna find them later, kind of a thing. Like bears don't do that. People do,
right?
Bears don't,
right? Yeah, and there's things out there, like there was a list that I found online the other day that it was like, no one would question me about what I was wearing if the bear attacked me. No one would accuse me of
it's your fault.
The bear attack.
A bear's
no one
would tell me that the bear
understand.
is just a really good guy.
Right. Bears don't traffic women. A bear's friends won't come out to say how nice the bear is and how attacking me is ruining its life. Like, no one's going to question if the bear attack actually happened or that the bear sees me as a human being. So like there's a couple of things that they said that it was like, if I survive the bear attack, I won't have to see the bear at family reunions. The bear didn't pretend to be my friends for months beforehand. The bear wouldn't film it and send it to his friends. So like there's all of these like men that I've seen, and there's been a couple of women too, but I haven't seen those comments as often. But there's a lot of men on some of these social media posts that are like, "How fucking dare you? We would protect you. We would do what we could. We would, hold your hand and take you out of the woods safely." And I'm like, you are the reason this is a problem.
Okay. Well, okay.
You're not seeing the bigger picture.
Okay. Well, okay. See it like this. Okay. I just thought of this just now. Is that you're absolutely right. I agree with what you're saying. If you look at a lot of girls on Instagram, guys, I see these posts. I don't follow these people, but they do come across my feed a lot. They come through stories or not stories. They come through, reels or whatever. There'll be these cute girls on there and they'll be doing something cute, not quite provocative, but something kind of, they're cutesy doing something, whatever. And you go investigate their page and they have like 500,000 followers, millions of followers, like on their Instagram page. And it's like regular girls or whatever. And then you do some more investigation, look at their website, and sure enough, almost every single time, you want to guess what I see on their a link to on their website?
OnlyFans?
OnlyFans every single time. And it's almost like a game I can play. Like, I bet she has an OnlyFans. And she's not even like doing anything sexy in the first video I see. It's like this basic stuff, right? And sure enough, OnlyFans. Now, why is that? Like, why is that? Like every single one of them I see, they're like the OnlyFans. I mean, maybe because they're working that angle. Maybe it's because, they know guys are creepy and they know guys are into that, so they're just taking it to the bank. Maybe I don't know. I don't think it's right, but it's something they're doing.
Well, and let's also throw out there, we were talking about this earlier, like with the minimum wage raising and everything. Trying to find a job out there is fucking rough. So
yeah.
I'm also a huge, like, I'm a pretty big advocate for like those people, like you got to get out there and do what you got to do. Like I have personal acquaintances. I'm not going to say friends because I haven't known them for very long, but I have personal acquaintances that they have a full-time job. They're a government employee. They have 3 kids at home, and they also do OnlyFans on the weekends because their income is not enough to feed the kids, keep the kids fed, clothed, make sure that they have all their school supplies. And then I had the one friend, her daughter is about to start driving. And so they've got to get her a car and they've got to do all these things. And the car that they did buy kept breaking down. So then they've got all these auto repairs and they've got all this stuff. So I'm actually, I'm an advocate for the people that need that. Now, granted, I'm not an influencer and I'm not, some 17-year-old kid with a great body and like putting her body out there for the world to see. That's not me. But, everybody has their own motive for doing what they got to do. You know what I mean?
I understand that. Like if I could pull it off, I try to pull off something too, but I just don't think the numbers are as much. Like I always kind of think that women are pretty good at selling things, even if it's not sexual. But like if you look at a woman real estate agent versus like a man, usually the women, I thought they did a little better selling. Maybe with cars too. Women who in sales positions, I think thought they did. I mean, I don't work in sales, but I would think they would sell more than the men would. But I don't know. What do you think on that?
I don't know. I'd have to see the statistics on it just from like, because I haven't worked in sales, but I guess my experience would be just like existing as a woman. I would say like I definitely like it's not necessarily difficult to get attention from a guy if I wanted it. However, it is pretty difficult to get a guy to take me seriously. Like it's much harder to get, especially like older men, to consider my opinion on anything.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Like, what do you know, kid? Come on, get out of here,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a tricky thing with all things, really. And I just was looking at this just from the numbers part of it all. And I know a lot of guys that subscribe to these girls on Instagram. They're just looking at one thing. They're not subscribing to them because they're talking to them about something smart, They're subscribing for something else. And I think a lot of women use that to their advantage to get things done. I'm not saying they're sleeping with a boss or anything like that, but there are flirty, cutesy ways that it can be used, and guys fall for it. I think we all do,
I think it also needs to be brought up too that there is still a huge gap between what men are paid and what women are paid when you're looking at different industries. And I know, like, I'm not just going to throw out a bunch of industry names, but I mean, there's still a pretty huge statistic out there that fully states that women are still getting underpaid compared to men. So as an overall, I want to believe that while women are, capable and understanding and ready to take the world by force, there's still that stigma that men make more money, or the stigma that the woman doesn't know enough. And so they're going to try to take the woman for what she has or try to manipulate or whatever. I have worked in sales positions. I've also worked in attorneys' offices where people will come in, and attorneys' fees aren't usually like set in stone. They do have some set in stone things just across the board because they've been practicing for a while. But I've also been in that situation where, payment plans need to be made, or the person will negotiate their fees because their case is different or whatever. And what I witnessed is that men who come in, whether or not they actually have money to spend, will still try to see what they can take as far as what will give them more advantage on the monetary side of things with a female attorney. And I think it's a little gross, to be honest with you. I think it's
wow.
It's a little gross to kind of see some of those things in action.
Well, that's crazy. I've never seen anything like that myself, but that you have that. Wow, it's very eye opening to know that stuff like that still exists today. I would think that we've kind of gone past that. I would think we've kind of grown up since then a little bit, but Yeah, that's why they have at every job you go to now. They make you take like what is all those classes make you take like sexual harassment or
Oh God.
all the different ones and stuff. And it's everything's evolving and we're all trying to learn as we go and figure out, basically do the right thing and make sure that you don't try to take advantage of somebody else or step on anybody else to promote yourself, although it probably does happen, like you said, and it's not right. But what do? We just keep on keeping on, I guess. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, that's all that we can do, And basically just kind of, for me anyway, I would rather kind of just point out some of those some of those differences. Like if we're talking man versus bear, right? Like I think the whole debate in and of itself is absolutely absurd. And especially for the men that are out there that are like, oh my God, how dare you? And I'm like, you're the problem,
Yeah.
So
right, you know where I was at last week.
Right. So like I think as far as I guess kind of circling this and rounding it out, there's when you're talking about having a platform that you're speaking to people, whether it's the 5 people that currently listen to our podcast or the 500 million or 500,000 people that listen to Joe Rogan's podcast, you have a platform to put out information, right? Like you have not necessarily a duty. You don't have a duty to put out information that is good, bad, ugly, up, down, left, right, women versus man, that kind of thing. But know that you are putting information out there in the world and somebody's going to listen to it. So if you have the opportunity to put out information that might actually help someone or might give them the gumption to stand up to their person, whether it's their spouse, their girlfriend, their boyfriend, their supervisor, their boss, whoever, if they have some kind of motivation from the information that you're putting out there, then that just goes to show that you have a voice.
That's right.
So use it.
That's right. Use it for good too. Don't be all negative. We have a lot of negative Nancy's out there. Let me tell you.
Oh my goodness. Well, Chris, yeah. I appreciate you getting through whatever tech problems we had this morning, but thank you so much for being willing to join us on this. I'm glad that you are here. You're actually our first guest on the show. So
no way.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, man. Oh, yeah. That's kind of all that I had for the episode. Erika, is there anything else that you wanted to throw out?
No. It was just I'm all good, but yeah, just echoing what Sarah said. I really appreciate you coming on.
Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate coming on and talk to you ladies about all this wonderful stuff. I could talk about anything for days. That's how I roll. So, thank you so much. And you ladies have a great, wonderful rest of your Cinco de Mayo.
You too, Chris.
Thank you so much. You too.